discussion? All in favor? Vote unanimous. Thank you. Please stand for, excuse me, pledge of allegiance. Thank you. Like a motion to accept the resignation of Jeff Potensky as board president effective January 17th, 2023. Mr. Long, Mr. Bailey, any comments, questions? All in favor? Thank you.
Motion to nominate, elect a new board president. Any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Katie Coffey.
Did we get second? Yep, that's okay. Another number? Yeah, we'll call Dave to choose one or the other. If there's not any more nominations. I hear none.
Katie Coffey. So, correct.
All right, now we gotta swear at you. Yep, to administer the oath of office. That's, yes, please. That's okay. We'll have a slight pause. Dr. Ball, will you sing for us?
Oh, that would be lovely.
Yes, please. We can make things happen for you. No offense. Yeah.
That I will faithfully discharge the duties of president of the biggest child board of education according to the best of my ability.
All right, so now you take over. All right, yes, you're okay. So now you go to, congratulations.
Thank you.
You need to turn your mic on. All right, and agenda changes, and then just read the part down here.
Okay. Agenda changes. The superintendent, this part?
There are changes to personnel. Let me
Okay.
see. Okay,
Okay.
all right. Points of interest.
Sorry, I'm learning.
It's okay.
Points of interest? Ms. Kais?
This isn't directly Gates Chile, but over the weekend, last weekend, I attended the Roberts Wesleyan Community Theater program of Shrek the Musical, and I was blown away by the number of Gates Chile alum, current students, both on stage, stage crew, and a number of our teachers were involved in choreographing, directing, and even on the board of directors over there. It was just a wonderful production, and Gates Chile has a very strong showing in our talent there.
Any other points of interest? Okay. Report of meetings? Mr. Moscato?
Just a reminder that February 5th is the Monroe County School Board Association legislative breakfast. We have quite a list of topics to talk to them about, to our representatives, both state, hopefully federal. The one that's gotten a lot of press lately has been the move to zero-emission buses and vehicles, especially given that we're getting reports from the electricity companies that they don't have the capacity to handle the changeover more than anything else. Also, free lunch, breakfast for our students, that's become another big issue, as well as, of course, revamping the foundation aid to be more reflective of what's true in districts. The formula has not been really redone. It was ignored for many years. So, those are some of the main topics. If you want to go to the breakfast, I think it starts around 8 o'clock, 8:30. Contact Monroe County School Board Association, or go to contact whatever you think is easiest for you. Remember, we did authorize us to attend Monroe County School Board event, so normally it's pretty good, so we'll see who shows up. That's the main problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other meetings? Okay. Visitor comments?
Oops. We have one, and you're gonna read that first, and then.
Okay. The Gates Chile Central School District Board of Education invites public comment at this time. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. We ask that individuals state their name and address prior to comments and utilize the podium microphone to address the board. Although the board will not respond directly to individual comments at this time, items brought to the attention of the board may be taken under consideration for future response or action. In order to comply with laws related to confidentiality, we ask that issues related to specific school district personnel or students be brought to the attention of the superintendent of schools privately. The board reserves the right to terminate a speaker's comments if his or her comments are in excess of 3 minutes, are repetitive, or are not appropriate for discussion in an open public forum. Mr. Marvin Stepperson? There's two names. Is it both of you or just you?
Well, I want her to speak first, and then I can come in behind. So,
Okay, come on
my
up.
daughter Carmen.
And Carmen Stepperson. Hi.
Hi, I'm Carmen Stephenson, and I'm here on behalf of Miss Lucienne, who's coming, and Dr. Killings and my dad, and I'm talking about the Adirondacks trip that I really think is beneficial to everybody that is in Savvy, and any kids at all that want to join. I personally did the Adirondacks trip a year ago, and I found it really skillful, like learning. I learned how to do things that I would not have known if I didn't do the trip, like survivor skills or a way to tell different ways to maneuver around the world, period, besides going with electronical stuff, like actually knowing what to do, how to start a fire, how to build shelter, how to make food from scratch, this and third, that I think is very good for people my age, especially going on from senior year to older or becoming freshmen and coming into school. And Miss Lucienne has definitely shown me different ways to go through, because in the Adirondacks where we stayed, the Wi-Fi wasn't that good, so there wasn't really a lot of phone and social media, so it's not like, oh, I wonder how to make this. It's kind of asking your fellow people that you're with, okay, how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I locate and navigate? So it definitely taps into your inner workmanship to get around and know how to do everything correctly. And I think it's very good for everyone because it kind of makes us get out of the social world and brings us back into like reality and brings us back to what we really need to know and things that are really good for us in the long term. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, first of all, Superintendent Daly, and to the Vice President and the now President. About 4 years ago, I sat in that seat where Chief is, and my biggest initiative was to have diversity in the district, not only in the teaching core, but also in some of the curriculum and the exercise of programs. And so this is one, being the chair of Inclusive Woods and Us, that myself and the executive director, Ms. Lucienne Nicholson, who brought Woods and Us to Monroe County. And now a little bit about Woods and Us is that this program is specifically focused towards children of color, but it's not exclusive. What we found is that going out into nature has a health properties of stress, anxiety, CTSD, PTSD. So not only are we talking about a physical component, but also a mental health component. We have, as you can see nationally, as well as in our own district, the amount of violence. And a lot of that is attributed to children not having a healthy outlet of their energy, of their focus. And so this program, we're starting out with Savvy to have these young ladies go out and be introduced to places that they have not been to that are within their living district. I mean, a lot of these children don't even leave their block. Now they can go to the path and the parks that their parents pay taxes for. So why are we not exploring these areas within our district and within our county? And so we're introducing them to different environments, hoping that this will help them to be able to, one, build partnerships with one another as they talk, because you're on the path now. You're not out here on your devices where you're locked into social media. You're actually talking to people, having face-to-face conversations like growing up, and many of you all grew up, that's all we did, right? We didn't have these devices. And so we're hoping that the Gates Child Eye will support the initiative of these young ladies being able to go out. And also I've been kind of offline with Mr. Irving, trying to see how we can implement this with the school district for all children here. Again, this is a wonderful program. We get grants to take care of the financial components, because we know that that can be a hurdle and a barrier as well. So we're trying to eliminate as many as possible to be able to get our children out into nature. And my last and closing remarks is that when you do go out to the hiking environments, you don't see us out there, right? And so again, even though our focus is for children of color, it's for a specific reason. They're not being introduced to the environments out there. It's predominantly white, so a lot of us that do go out there, we don't see ourselves, and we want them to be comfortable. So the more children, the more adults and families that we can get out there, the better we can be able to
Thank you.
thank you for your time again. And
Thank you.
congratulations, Katie.
Thanks.
I appreciate that. And
Alright.
this is a great lead into the next one.
Nice job. All right. So we're on to reports. High school field trip proposal.
There we go.
President Coffey,
Hello.
Vice President Moscato, Superintendent Daly, the rest of the board, I want to thank you for this opportunity tonight. I guess I couldn't have teed it up any better than what you just heard. But my job really is to provide opportunities for kids. And when we have people who are community members who are willing to partner with us and create these experiences, I think it's a great sign, and it's a great step moving in the right direction. So a little while ago, Dr. Stacy Killings, who is one of our school psychologists at the high school, brought this opportunity. She said that she's got some connections and there's some talk going on. And then we had a few more conversations. And then I had the chance to meet Lucienne Nicholson. She came to the school. And then again, we have Carmen, who's already attended this trip once. But we're really looking to see if this is something that could be a part of what Gates does moving forward. The Adirondack piece is what we're going to be, talking a little bit about tonight. But the other piece you need to know is that they go to a lot of local places right in Monroe County. So this isn't a one and done. This is an opportunity for young women to get out and see what our community has to offer as far as resources, as far as opportunities to strengthen the bonds between them, get physical fitness, mental wellness. So this is a big win. I view it as a big win for everyone in every phase of the game. So I'm going to ask Dr. Killings and Ms. Nicholson to please come up and just give a little more background. And again, tonight we're just really looking to kind of, gain your permission to take this trip. I know it was kind of a last minute, but it took a lot of just building, and we weren't sure how things would go. So again, I'm going to call them up and let them fill in some gaps for us. Okay? Thank you.
Good evening. So initially, Savvy is a girls group, and it came about because a group of students came to me and said, Dr. Killings, we need something. We need a space where we can feel comfortable and welcome and just talk about things that we're dealing with. And so it blossomed and it became that. It's a group for girls, and without discriminating against gender, race, ethnicity, religion, it ended up being a group of females, and all the students in the club are students of color. And that is just the way that it ended up happening, and that's the way that it formed. It became that naturally. However, we welcome anyone from the LGBTQ community, of students, white, it doesn't matter, race or gender, as long as the students that join the group are focused on empowerment. We talk about empowerment, unity, and respect and leadership. So those are the main tenets of the Savvy Girls group. And in taking the girls out for this excursion, we feel that it aligns with the initiatives of our district. It's about removing barriers so all students can learn and grow. It gives students an opportunity to connect across lines of difference that we've seen amongst students of color. And we're hoping to provide and extend this learning environment outside the walls of Gates Chili High School and outside, literally outside, and getting the girls outside. And as a psychologist, and you'll hear more from Ms. Lucian Nicholson, will talk about the benefits that students gain from being outside, outdoors, in the fresh air, hearing the sights and the sounds, and how it's a positive for all of our senses. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Killings. Good evening, I'm Lucia Nicholson. Thank you for having me in your home this evening. You'll have to know this is very important to me because I don't like to drive at night, particularly when the road is wet, especially since I live at the tail end of Pittsburgh near Eastview Mall. So that tells you that I'm really invested in this. I'll say that we share things in common. I'm looking at the Champion for Change. Woods and us received the Champion for Change for a nonprofit organization that's really making change in the lives of children in the city of Rochester. And this is an all-volunteer organization. We work our tail off, literally, right, Marvin? Because we believe what we have is a solution. The world is made of problems, and I think problems are seeking solution. So when I see something, I name it. I do my best to either resolve it or look for people who can do the work. So in founding Woods and Us, I'm an immigrant. Not my accent will tell you that, but it will not tell you I've been in this country for 50 years. So I speak 3 languages, and I'm proud to have an accent because I can speak in 3 languages. I'm from Haiti. I came when I was 16 years old to Brooklyn, New York. And I had the opportunity to live in 2 worlds when I was in Haiti. My grandmother, my ancestors, they all had lands. My mother was wise enough to take us to the hills and be on the mountains on the farm with my ancestors. And then during school years, we had to go to the capital to go to school. So I encountered diesel fuel, concrete, everything you find in urban space, especially in a country that's not like a European-centric nation. When I came to America at 16, I moved to East Flatbush, New York, where the new immigrants from the Caribbean were landing. And I came in the early 70s, just at the time when I couldn't understand civil rights movement, desegregation, busing, and they split up the 4 girls. I'm one of them, and I was bused to a better school district that's like a Pittsburgh school district. Needless to say, it was a shock to me, living in 2 worlds. And what I encountered, the differences I saw in my suburban school, and then while I was living as a young immigrant in Flatbush, and I needed nature so desperately because I'm in a new country. My parents don't speak the language. I had to negotiate for myself, negotiate for my parents and my siblings. I needed nature because that was a place for healing. But to my horror, I know that I'll come to a country, I'll have access to a good education, and I did make use of it, and that I can aspire to many great things. However, the cost of losing access to nature, to me, was unparalleled. It's not something that I would sign up for if I knew that it would happen to me. So it became a mission of mine, knowing how healing nature was for me in Haiti, and seeing the difficulties my siblings were experiencing in the lesser than funded and advanced school district that they were sent to, and seeing all these disparities colliding against each other, I knew that nature can make a difference. But what I was hoping is that if I've been living in America for a long time, it will not be a need anymore. But it's still a need, that we still have people who cannot have access to nature. After raising my children, I decided to give back to the country that has given to me. And instead of kicking my heels, what I could do and do a lot of fun things for myself, I decided that I will pour myself into a need that I saw that was in the city of Rochester as a volunteer in the school district. I was appalled, I was amazed at what my siblings experienced in Brooklyn, New York, and that was no schoolyard, no garden, no place, no soft space, no soft scape, just the buildings and the broken bottles and the noise and all of that. And I know how disruptive that is to the consciousness of a human being, and that can interfere with learning and thinking. And now today we have scientific studies that shows that even well-to-do, regardless of your race, if you're well-to-do, most likely you are very competitive. Your kids spending a lot of time behind the screen. They go from ballet to dance to tennis. They're always in a building, mean shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. These children are having the same restlessness that children who are deprived of economic opportunity in the city, certain zip codes in Rochester. These children too are developing myopia as well as the poor children. The poor children are getting enough light because they're poor, because of how they're living. The well-to-do kids are not getting enough light either because they're well-to-do. The parents are busy pushing them in buildings to learn and be competitive and get into that fine school. So what is being shown scientifically is like, we need nature. We can do whatever we want to do, think however we want to think, drive whatever car we can drive. But we need nature. We are nature, we're part of nature. And when I look at what's happening in the city school district as a volunteer, and I had to stop volunteering because at some point I became fearful for my life because I got into 2 difficult situations. But after I pulled away, I still felt that I had an obligation to give back because somebody gave to me. That's why I'm sitting here today. So what did I do with that information? I did research because people thought I was high on something when I talk about nature. Luckily today, you have scientific study, quantitative science, that shows that measures our blood, measures our cortisol level, that shows without a doubt that when we go into nature, we get better, we're better people, we're more calm, we're nicer, we play better with each other, we're more creative, we're healthier, it regulates our glycemic index, lowers the cortisol level, make us better able to learn. All the things that I think any child will need, particularly children who are compromised neighborhoods. So when I founded Inclusive Within Us, as you said here, Dr. Killings, it's not to exclude people, it's to address people who are living in a particular setting. It turns out that most of the people in the setting that need the most nature look like me. But any child living in these areas have come through Hillside. I've taken children of all races into Within Us. But I'm an immigrant for a reason. We are called to be resourceful. Then it wasn't enough for me to just take the kids to a Mendon Ponds Park, as beautiful as it is, or to a Letchworth. I wanted them to see all the other possibilities. So I advocated for them throughout New York State, and now we are able to have this opportunity because what I believe, if it's happening anywhere in America, why not in Monroe County? It's happening in any city, why not Rochester? That's how I roll. So this is how I made this networking of opportunities that is happening right now for Rochester. In New York, in all of New York State, in Monroe County, is one of the few where this is happening. This program is not unique to us. It's been vetted, so that should make you feel better because they're doing it with students in Greece, in Brooklyn, and other places from downstate. So I figured if it's down there, I advocated to have it here. And in addition, we also have, through my networking, through my advocacy, we're working in a very holistic way. The children not only get to go to the Adirondacks because scientific studies show that the more woods you have, the more density, the more forest, the healthier you get. When they do the blood draw, I'm talking about, they scan the brain, they find that if you go to the Adirondacks or you go to the Grand Canyon, the benefits that you get far outlast what I get for going to Mendon. Mendon Ponds is beautiful, but it doesn't have the ratio of trees and river and other scape of nature in it. So I try to take the kids not just only to the suburban trails because they just happen to be nicer, but I also want to have them have the most benefits. And also it shows that if you expose people to the awness of nature as a first encounter, they will then come back home, they're yearning for it, they're gonna go to whatever local trail is nearby because they're trying to reproduce that good feeling experience. That's what we want to happen. So it shows that children who have access to nature, who are better regulated, listen better, learn better, cooperate better, love better. Everything I think we all need for this country, for this city. So another thing that I do is that I plant seeds, and I hope others would water the garden. This opportunity is not one time. I have already advocated so that this school can have it every year. And for as long as I live, I will advocate to make sure that they're getting it every year. So it is up to the school if they want this kind of opportunity, because I don't give up. If you say no tonight, I hope you say yes. I'll go somewhere else. Because I will not give up because I work so hard to create these opportunities. Another wing of this opportunity is that it's happening on a college campus. And I've already made it sure that not only they will have opportunity to experience nature, they're going to be told about what it's like to live there. Imagine themselves in that space, living at SUNY ESF at Newcomb campus. What does that mean? My gosh, I never thought of it, but I think I love science now. I might want to study environmental studies. And another thing that we do within us, with my leadership, is that I look for the opportunities. Like we are working a park ranger junior program, which could be launched like next year. We're also working on an outdoor photography club because somebody in the University of Vermont was so inspired by the work that we're doing that they reach out to have an outdoor photography program going that would be attached to within us. So this organization is very, very different because I believe in holistic approach. All the parts are connected for me. So as far as the event that's going to happen, I have handed over to our president, Mr. Hamill, all the key people that are involved. You have Paul High, who is a native of Pittsford. And then you have the ADI, which is the Adirondack Diversity Initiative. And then we have myself. So these are the three organizations that are coming together. And the key people, you have all of the information there. And we all are vetted as far as a background check, as far as children being safe around us. So we are paying for transportation, we are paying for food, we are paying for everything. And all we're saying is that allow us to give this opportunity to the children, promote this program, and know that you're going to have better citizens at the end. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions? No? Thank you.
Dates and
Yeah, I think he's getting that for us. Thank you, though.
Do you have that information in front of you, the dates and everything?
No.
February 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Could be cold up there.
Thanks, you guys.
We can move it to action to approve, or you can approve now, or not.
Do you guys have any other questions that you want to ask?
Sure.
Yeah.
How many students are going, and which adults are going, and how are you getting there?
So the Savvy Club, there are 16 girls in the club. We have to, I didn't send out any parent permission forms or anything like that until we get the necessary approval. I will be going. I have a psychologist intern who will be going, who is a graduate of Gates Charlie High School. And another graduate of Gates Charlie High School, Shelby Stufferson, is also working in the building, so she's the third adult who will be attending. That's the staff from the building. In addition to Ms. Nicholson will be bringing her staff as well.
Mr. Sefferson, you're going too?
He's on the staff with Ms. Nicholson.
And are you taking a bus?
Yes, we're working with a travel company right now.
Nice.
Any other questions? Do you guys want to do it now? My professional words there. Can we, a motion to approve it? Do I have a motion to approve this trip? Mr. Bailey, Ms. Davis? Ms. Davis? Second, Ms. Davis. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Vote is unanimous.
Thank you.
Enjoy it. Tell us
Thank
about
you
it,
very
okay?
much for your support on
Do you want
this.
pictures?
Oh, yes, all of that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Make a comment? No.
Dr. Richards?
Before you all leave, I just want to make a comment about the Savvy program. So many of you know, both my daughters graduated from Gates Charlie, and they were with Dr. Killings when she first started the Savvy program. And I think the Savvy program is a prime example of a space where students went to a staff and said, we need a space, we need you to hear us, and they took advantage of that, and it's still going. My oldest graduated back in 2016. So to know that it's still going and still going strong is a credit to the staff at the high school. So thanks to Dr. Killings, thanks to Mr. Hamill, as well as the parents and the students. And tell my Shelby I said hello.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the facilities update.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
My name is William Betta. I'm the Director of Facilities here at Gates. Briefly, I have a facilities update for the last year and where we're at right now. So I think I just push the arrow or load it up. Turn it on. Okay, there we go. Okay, here's the facilities update. Dr. Ball told me I can only take 30 minutes, so,
Oh, good.
all right, he did say 10, sorry. And I will keep it brief.
Thank you, Dr. Ball.
Our mission statement is work together to provide a clean, safe, secure, and aesthetically pleasing environment to enhance the educational and community experience, exceeding all expectations, and in support of the district's mission and values. Here's the breakdown of our department. Have myself as director, Kim Sullivan is my administrative assistant, Joseph DeSanto is my custodial supervisor. The clerk of the works is currently an open position that we'll have to fill soon since our project is, next project is taking off and we're getting underway. We do have a full-time courier that goes around the full district. We have maintenance workers, 5 maintenance workers, 4 of our seasonal grounds staff, 6 head custodians, 4 custodians, 31 cleaners, 4 substitutes right now. That number's varying, but we do need subs to support the absences out there, and 13 full-time security guards, and that number has increased, and I'll get into that soon here when we break that down. And around 8 summer staff last year. I say around because some weren't here very long, so I don't know if I really counted them. They didn't. One person didn't even make it the day, so sometimes it's a challenge. But we do get students and also staff that have the summers off that help out, which is greatly appreciated and we can use. Here's our department snapshot as far as budget numbers. I'm not going to read all the numbers. I'm going to leave them up there for a minute, but I am losing my voice. I don't know if you can hear it, but my voice has been challenged, and usually when Mitch yells at me, I don't use my voice, but sometimes I got to yell back. No, I'm slowly losing my voice here. So those are our numbers for that. As you can see, payroll is a good, and benefits is a good portion of our budget. Basically, we maintain 820,000 square feet of building space and approximately 230 acres of land. That includes all the athletic fields, the tennis courts, the track complex. These areas serve for over 3,700 students and 800 staff members, and those numbers change, obviously. It's definitely a full-time job. It's always challenging, and it's exciting in the way that you never know what you're going to do each day. Today we had a minor flood right in the middle of the day, so sometimes we think we know what we're going to do for the day, and we have to divert our resources to address the problems that come up. Maintenance and ground spotlight, we are in the process. We have a new plow truck. It's a salt truck ordered. It's a big ticket item because of the size of the vehicle and what it serves and how much salt it puts on the district. But as you know, even though we're not getting a lot of snow, we get ice and precipitation, and if it's around 32 degrees at all, we have to put salt down to make sure that we don't have any slips and falls and stuff like that. We do a great job out there of trying to maintain this, and we need the support. We have a very old truck, and we've been told by many mechanics that it's time. So, and the other big project we have is our camera upgrade. We had a lot of cameras out there in the district that were very old or been in the district for a while and didn't have the quality that we needed. So we took the initiative to get the cameras upgraded. It's one of the steps for our security and safety of the district, one of many that we'll be working on, and we're in the process of doing that now. I will say we are able to use our own staff to help support that, and they're installing them and assisting with that. So this is allowing us to get this project done, and we're probably a third of the way into this right now as far as install, and slowly upgrading. And a lot of people won't notice the difference except the ones that are using it. And you know, you can see the difference when you need a clear picture of something. So, our custodial staff, we had a challenge last year of getting enough staff like other districts, and I'm happy to say we have 6 head custodians, 4 custodians, day and night custodians. The question last year was brought up, the difference between custodians, head custodians, and cleaners. Cleaners do their routes and stuff, and then you have a custodian overseeing that. So they'll do some of those routes in addition to some of the supervision of those routes, especially at night when not a lot of staff is around, and making sure the building is secure for the evening and everything's put away. And but the head custodians are mainly during the day. They work during the day, and they oversee all of them as far as making sure that you know, everybody is doing what they're supposed to do. And cleaner will report to the custodians. Custodians will report to the head custodians. The only exception to that is we also have custodians that are mechanical, and they'll do some of the mechanical during the day as well. And they assist with the maintenance. So as far as filter changing or light duty stuff like that, they'll do some of that work. In addition to everything that you see up here, you know, cleaning and stuff like that. Custodial spotlight, myself and Joe DeStano, our custodial supervisor, took a class in the fall, Lean Six Sigma Green Belt class through RIT. And we're working together. We're hoping that this is going to help us organize and streamline our custodial, as well as anything that we work on. It was definitely an intense class while we're working. We were taking this class, so it was a challenge for us, but we got through it, and we will be implementing some of that through our custodial staff and organization. These are some of the custodial square foot numbers and cleaning space. As you can see, we have a lot of building. We have a lot of space to clean. And it's a constant challenge, and we're always looking for new ways and efficient ways to do things, and we're hoping that that Greenbelt class is going to make us more efficient doing that. Our security staff, as I said, we have 13 now. We actually added 2 security personnel to our staff to cover our elementary schools. This includes our SRO that's in the building every day. Huge help to us and supports even simple questions or problems that we have. Leading to that, now that we have 2 additional security staff, we're able to patrol the elementary schools, and we have 1 security staff per 2 schools, every 2 schools in the elementary, as well as this main campus. We have the security in the buildings as well as 1 patrolling the outside. So we're a lot more visible right now. As you can see, that we have vehicles that are wrapped. You say security on them. There's a presence there. We also can identify stuff that's going on prior to it, becoming a problem. A lot of behind the scenes stuff goes on, to eliminate any concerns. So we're very, we're working harder to have that presence and make sure that we're in the right spot when you need to be. Staffing update, we do have a lot of new hires. Here are some of them. Middle school, we had a head custodian and a new custodian as well there. That building saw the most change this past year, but doing a great job there. We have a new maintenance mechanic, and it's funny because he's a father of another grounds mechanic there. So he's working out really well, and we're lucky enough to get him on board for that. And he works on a lot of the equipment repairs. And we have a few other cleaners in the security staff that we added. We have a retiree this week, actually a head custodian retiring, so we are looking for a head custodian, and 3 cleaning positions are open right now. Some of our capital project work you're probably familiar with. This is the Performing Professional Learning Center. Hopefully next month you guys will be in there to see that, but if you haven't got a chance to see it, when you do, you'll like the space. It's beautiful. We are finishing up some punch list items, and hopefully we'll have that wrapped up soon. So we'll look forward to seeing that soon. And that's all I have. That's in a nutshell. I don't know how I did. I wasn't timing myself, but hopefully I kept it under 10 because
You did great.
Mitch will get me the next time. Do we have any questions? Okay.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the 2023-2024 Budget Development Report.
Good evening, Superintendent Daly, President Coffey, Vice President Moscato. Thank you for having me tonight. I'll start by saying I actually told Mr. Bennett that we had 30 minutes total, that 20 of them belonged to me, so strap in. Just kidding. This should be fairly quick and painless. It will be shorter than last year, and I'll tell you why in a couple of minutes. So the things that we're going to talk about this evening, a quick federal funds update, talk about revenue estimates, vote propositions that we currently plan for, and next steps. So from a federal funding perspective, I know that we have had multiple presentations on this. I understand that we have at least 1 new board member since I talked about it last, but we received a good amount of funding from the federal government, over $6 million actually in federal funding, that had to be used over a number of years, up to 4 years. And so this is just a quick update. We did this last year in January as well. So the first one, the CARES Act, that's completed and closed. We bought a whole lot of supplies and things for the schools at the start of COVID-19. The Carissa ARP set aside funds. Those are those larger federal funding streams that we received, and we had a good amount of flexibility in terms of how we wanted to spend that money. We spent some of it on hiring additional staff in the buildings to do different things, including mental health supports. We used some of the funding, or are using some of the funding to replace HVAC units, up to 8 of them across the district. And so we're currently have paperwork into the New York State Education Department's Facilities Planning Department for approval of those HVAC units. And then we had FEMA funding as well that we were able to apply for, which was independent of the other funding streams. And that application process was very intense. I want to thank District Treasurer Sally Sanford for all the work that she's done in relation to applying for those funds. We have submitted that application. It took her approximately 1.5 years to prepare that application, because every time that we completed something, the federal government would come in and say, we need one more bit of information. And so we're really happy to have that application submitted at this time. With that, you know, I already mentioned the facilities planning process. That's where we're at. We're continuing to spend those funds per the plan. The plan is posted on the website under that link that you see up on the screen. And so if ever you're wondering what's in that plan, or you have more questions or want more detail, that's the place to look, as well as feel free to reach out to me at any time relating to that. Any questions on the federal funding? No? Okay. Quick revenue estimate update. So our current year budget, it's been pretty similar over the last number of years. Most of our resources come from either school taxes or state aid funding. And then we have our lesser revenue areas, including sales tax, fund balance and reserves, and other revenues. A bit of good news is that, and again, this is the current year breakdown, in terms of Monroe County sales tax, we've seen a pretty significant increase in sales tax revenue. As you know, the cost of goods right now is way up. So last year CPI was around 8%, Consumer Price Index, which is an index of cost of goods in the market, that's up. So again, that means that the sales tax revenue will be up. As for the other revenues, those are coming in as anticipated. So our current state aid budget is about $48.7 million. We're not anticipating any issues with receiving our expected state aid. Everything is tracking per plan. Governor Hochul had her State of the State recently, and typically what happens when the governor releases the State of the State is within a few days we receive a state aid funding plan from the Division of Budget, and currently we don't have that. And so the Division of Budget does have some information on their website that indicates that in a gubernatorial election year, they have until February 1st to release that information. So last year at this time, we had state aid projections to talk about as an executive proposal. This year, we don't have that information. And so we're waiting with bated breath, but we do know a couple of things. One thing we do know is, again, that CPI, that Consumer Price Index, is up 8%. And so a lot of the foundation aid formula, which is our major source of funding to schools that looks at the various demographics throughout the district, like our student counts, our students with special needs counts, our ENL counts, English as a new language counts, to give us our foundation aid formula and our foundation aid monies that we receive in the district. It's highly tied to that CPI number, so we do anticipate that foundation aid will be up as a result of that. We also know that state revenues are up $7.7 billion, so this over what they initially projected. So we do know that the state should be carrying a pretty healthy fund balance in terms of budgeted to actual revenues. And then lastly, we do know that foundation aid funding is in its last year of full funding. If you recall back over the last couple of years, we've been talking about how the state had 3 years to phase in, or they had a commitment of 3 years to phase in foundation aid fully. We're in that final year going into next year of full foundation aid funding. So we do anticipate a pretty decent increase in state aid. So that's the good news. That foundation aid, we anticipate it's going to be up, and it should be up pretty significantly. But I like to caution us at this time, before we make any big plans about how we're going to spend that money, in that the state doesn't really have a long-term plan for what happens after next year when they fully fund the foundation aid formula. What will happen going into next year? And so, a lot of people may think to themselves, well, let's add a whole bunch of things because this funding is coming in. And I would just caution the district to be thinking in those terms, because we're going to see that federal funding start to drop off over the next year or so. And we'll also see this foundation aid influx, we'll see that go away. And generally speaking, economies are cyclical in nature. And so right now we're on an upward projection. Back in 2009-10, the state had a huge budgetary gap to close, and they withheld billions and billions of dollars from schools. And so now is the time to be thinking real prudently about an outlook into the future, about how are we going to prepare ourselves for the next market downturn. So just something to be thinking about as we talk about budgeting, and something that we'll be talking about more throughout the budgeting process. So tax levy limit, CPI-U, again, 8%, but under the tax cap legislation, it's capped at 2%. So it's the greater of 2% or CPI. I should say it's the lesser of CPI or 2%. So if CPI, and we saw this over the last couple of years, if CPI is lower than 2%, then we're capped at that as a starting point for calculating our taxes. If it's over 2%, then we're capped at 2%. So even though our costs have gone up significantly, we're still capped at that 2% as a starting point in terms of the tax cap calculation. And then there's other factors that come into play on top of that. So for instance, the tax-based growth factor, that just essentially looks at how much your tax base has grown, how much the properties in the district have increased in value. And so that's at a little less than 1%. So that means that our cap gets to be increased by that amount. In addition to that, we have increases in our capital exclusion. This is a little bigger than we normally see for an increase in our capital exclusion. And that's because in terms of state aid, a portion of that capital exclusion relates to the aid that we get back on buses. Well, what happened last year is buses were so delayed, significantly delayed, that some of the buses were only getting a half year of aid on. So we're going to get all the aid that we deserve. It's just going to be prolonged and drawn out. But because those buses, we literally could not get them from the manufacturers, now we're only getting a half year's of aid going into next year. So that's going to mean that our exclusion goes up because our cost to aid differential has shifted. So that's one thing that's impacting it. The capital projects, just want to point out that those have no impact on taxes. It's been communicated to the public and to the Board of Education. Pilots are payments in lieu of taxes. These are abatements given to businesses that the idea here from Comida and Imagine Monroe is that they're providing jobs in our community, and so in order to attract them here to our community, the county gives them abatements on taxes, reduced taxes. We anticipate that those are stable. Going into next year, we will have a major pilot dropping off, or it's anticipated it will if it's not renewed, worth about $1.5 million in pilot payments. It's a $60 million property, so just preferencing us to say next year that will increase our taxes potentially, but it should not impact our tax rate, so people's taxes shouldn't go up as a result of that. So this tax levy limit's due in March. Any questions about that? Okay, these are our other revenues. I'm not anticipating at this point major variances, except to say that we will be increasing slightly our estimate for sales tax. There is a consideration for, kind of finding a middle ground between the growth that we've seen this year and potentially what could happen next year with the market. Fund balance and reserve use. So we do use fund balance and reserves. Again, reserves need to be used for a very specific purpose. So under general municipal law and education law, reserves have very specific uses, and they can only be used for those specific uses. So these are some of the things that we have in our current budget to help offset some of our costs that we have in the district. Appropriated fund balance, that last piece, that's carryover funds from the prior year that we use to balance a future year's budget. So when thinking about fund balance and reserves, one of the metrics that we really want to target is 4% or under in use of fund balance as reserves in comparison to the budget itself. So although in 21, 22 and 22, 23, the amount of fund balance and reserves was stable because our budget increased, the percentage of budget actually went down a little bit. However, going into next year, if we do receive a significant influx in foundation aid, it will be a strong recommendation that we use some of those funds to lessen our reliance on reserve funds. Okay. All right, vote propositions. So currently, the vote propositions that we are discussing include the budget approval that we will do in May. The bus purchase proposition, the use of capital reserves for technology. Actually, let me back up to number 2 and say that we've exhausted our use of the NYSERDA funds, so we're going to have soon 5 electric buses in our fleet. Going into next year, we won't have the option of getting more electric buses because the max number of electric buses you can get through the NYSERDA grant is 5. And we were getting $200,000 per bus back on those buses. And without those grants, we can't afford the buses. They're over $400,000 a piece. So just saying that next year it will be all traditional buses, and you will hear more about that at a future board meeting. So capital reserve for technology, still working with Mr. McKinney in implementing our technology plan. So the plan will be to, again, use some of those reserve funds. In order to use those reserve funds, we require public approval. Same for capital reserve for security infrastructure. We created this reserve in order to help us make some inroads on some needed upgrades and new equipment for security. And then the creation of a new capital reserve. So we, through the current project that we're using now, will use a portion of the $10 million authorized reserve that we have in place. So we're going to use $5 million of that for the $45.5 million project, leaving us an authorization to save up to $5 million more in that reserve. But after that, we don't have another place to help us save for our long-range capital plans. And so this is not asking for a capital project, but asking for the public to approve or authorize us to save money for future capital work in alignment with our long-range capital planning. So next steps, we're going to continue collecting information on the tax cap calculation, knowing that it's due March 1st. We're awaiting those final state aid allocations. We are hoping that they come within the next weekish. And then we're going to continue collaborating with district-wide staff to generate and refine the expenditure proposal. Over the last couple of months, that's the buildings and department leaders have worked really hard to create staffing proposals, and we've been working diligently to review those. As you know, the budgeting cycle starts in October and goes all the way till May. So it essentially goes from when the summer's ending to the summer's beginning. It's a very long process that extends over the entirety of the winter season. So these are the things that are coming up over the next weeks and months. If you have any questions, if anyone has any questions, that's who to email. Any questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a great evening.
All right, moving forward to discussion items, we have Policy Committee update from January 17th, 2023.
Well, it was a riveting meeting. We had 4 policies that by law we're required to adopt that were basically updated based on change in state regulations or actions. So all 4 were recommended by the committee to waive the second reading, which you would do in action items later.
Thanks. So then do I do this?
Nope.
No,
Now you
I
go
skipped
down
down.
to consensus.
Just skip a page. Sorry, I'm new with this. All right, motion to approve consensus item, or consensus agenda. I have a motion. Ms. Kais, and then Ms. Davis. Motion to approve consensus items C through H. Ms. Littlewood, Mr. Long. Any discussion? All in favor? Mr. Moscato? Thank you. Dr. Egon. Ms. Parado, do I call you now or in a minute?
Nope.
In a minute?
You do A first.
Alright, so. Alright, tenure appointments. Be it resolved that the board approves of the following tenure appointments at the January 24th, 2023 meeting as recommended by the superintendent of schools. We have Catherine Pica in the tenure area of school counselor and Catherine Mahaney in the tenure area of school social worker. Have a motion? Ms. Littlewood, Mr. Moscato. Any questions, discussion? All in favor? Okay.
Good evening, President Coffey, Vice President Moscato, Superintendent Daly, and members of the Board of Education. So this evening, we did not have any new retirees to acknowledge, but we do have some mid-year tenure appointments that we just wanted to highlight. So the board just approved tenure for Katie Pica and Katie Mahaney. So both of the Katies have been excellent additions to our mental health team in the district as counselor for Katie Pica, school counselor for Katie Pica, and social worker for Katie Mahaney. They have certainly earned their stripes and done a great job by our students and in helping to support our mission and vision. And it is difficult to be a mid-year tenure recipient, but they have been notified that they will be invited to the end-of-year tenure celebration along with their cohort that will hopefully be receiving tenure in the spring, in April. So thank you for your approval of tenure for these valued staff members.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alright. Approval of settlement agreement A. Be it resolved that the Board of Education approves the written agreement between the Superintendent of Schools of the Gates-Chili Central School District and an employee A of the district as discussed in executive session and executed on January 24th, 2023. Your motion for that? I have a motion. Mr. Bailey, Mr. Long, any discussion? Okay. All in favor? Thank you. And then here. All right, the 2023 budget ambassadors. Motion to appoint the 2023 budget ambassadors. I have a motion. Kais, Dr. Richards, any discussion? All in favor? Are you two in favor? Yep. Thanks. Okay. None to us.
Yes.
All right, now to waive the second reading of policy 6121, 7350, 7530, and 7618. I have a motion to waive the second readings of policy 6121. You would love to. Hold on. 7350, 7530, and 7618.
Correct.
Motion, Mr. Long, Mr. Bailey. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. All right, now approval.
Yep.
All right, approval of policy 6121, 7350, 7530, and 7618. I have a motion to approve policies 6121, 7350, 7530, and 7618. Ms. Davis, Dr. Richards, any discussion? All in favor? Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to superintendent's comments.
Well, Gates-Chili will be hosting the 8th Annual Inclusivity Summit on January 27th. This event is sponsored by Section 5 and Special Olympics. Gates Chile and 7 other districts will be participating in the training. The day will include 4 student-led workshops on how best to support our unified sports in their home districts and strategies for expanding opportunities for students with disabilities in athletics. The event runs from 9 to 1 p.m. Sessions will be in our PAC, and breakouts will take place in our cafeterias. Our district is providing lunches for all students and coaches. Special Olympics is sponsoring lunch for all participants. It's that time of year again for kindergarten registration. The countdown to kindergarten is officially underway. Families of incoming kindergartners will be receiving information this week about how to register their students for kindergarten this fall. There are 3 ways to register. First, email your completed registration pack to the district registrar. Drop off your completed registration packet at our kindergarten registration event on Tuesday, March 14th from 4 to 6 p.m. at the GC Administration Building. Or 3, drop off your completed registration packet at the GC Administration Building anytime Monday through Friday between 7:30 a.m. and 4 p.m. For more information, go to gateschile.org/kindergarten. We received an update recently on our free and reduced numbers, and our free and reduced rate for the district this year is currently 52%. This is similar to previous years, and it's a reminder for our families that breakfast is $2 and lunch is $3.20. If you are having difficulty paying for your students' meals, please take a moment to complete a free and reduced meal application on our website at gateschile.org/free-reduced-app. It's that time of year again for our most exciting time of the Family Communication Survey. We'll be conducting a Family Communication Survey for the 2nd year beginning in February. More information will be included in the S'more newsletter that comes out from my office at the beginning of February. Tomorrow, we have our pod simulation. So tomorrow morning will be part of a point of distribution simulation drill with Monroe County Health Department, Town of Gates, Gates PD, Gates Fire, and Emergency Services. It will be centered on a response to a catastrophic event which would result in the preparation, opening, and running of a pod in the Town of Gates in our campus. I'll update all of you later on how it went. And then for those of you that have sweethearts, or those of you that may not, the class of 2024 Sweethearts Dance is sponsored by, for UPK through 5 students and their special adults on February 3rd in our GCPAC, or the GPAC. The class of 24 will be there. The cost is $20 for 2 adults and 1 student. Please RSVP by February 1st at https://forms.office.com. You'll be able to see this in our minutes. Pay at the door with cash or check only, or go on our website. It's there too. And then this Friday, we have an important announcement about a change to our school calendar. Due to our winter weather closure on Friday, December 23rd, elementary schools will now operate on a half-day schedule this Friday, January 27th. This impacts all students in grades UPK through 5. As was planned last month, elementary school principals will share more specific information about the dismissal times. Please note that there's no change to the schedule for secondary students. There will be no school for students in grades 6 through 12 on January 27th. We also want to remind folks that the Gates Charlie Food Pantry is now open. This new resource for our families had its grand opening 2 weeks ago. Families in need of food can show up between 3 o'clock and 4:30 every Wednesday this month, or please contact Mrs. Angelina Pound to make an appointment. Her contact information is listed on our homepage. And as Mr. Moscato shared earlier, the Monroe County School Board Association Legislative Breakfast is coming up February 4th at 8 a.m. at the Doubletree in Henrietta. Please consider coming to this important meeting with our local, state, and national representatives. Mr. Moscato will share legislative priorities with you from the MCSBA and NYSBA to help prepare. If you haven't registered yet, would like to go, please let Mrs. Brown know, and she can help register you. It's a very important event for us as we let them know what we need as they go into budget season and development. So that is my report, ma'am.
Thank you.
And congratulations on your presidency.
Do we have any need for executive session?
We do not.
Not. Then can I have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Bailey, Dr. Richards, any discussion about that? All right, all in favor? We're adjourned.